Hello, very bored viewers. It's that time when once again I supposedly roast some influencers' cars. We'll go straight into this with Emilia Hartford, who has a C8 Corvette, which is quite nice in itself. And it's apparently currently the most powerful street-legal C8 Corvette. And it says here that it has 1,500 bhp. Does it? Has it been on the lie detector? I want to see the printout. But I have to say, that apart, I'm going to struggle to find anything bad to say about this car because it looks nice. It's been done in an extremely nice paint job. It looks really good. So does Emilia, if I'm allowed to say that in this day and age. I like the hat, I like the slightly untidy hair look and the torn jeans and the trainers, leaning on the car. Looks rather like me, actually. Yeah, I approve of that. Now, Matt Armstrong, this is a little bit more complicated. He has a Maserati Gran Turismo. I've got pictures of it here. Supposedly the cheapest Gran Turismo on sale in the UK. I don't know how much that would have been. It wouldn't have been a huge amount because the Gran Turismo is a bit pants. He's modified it over the last year. Now, the interesting thing about this is he is a very keen BMX bike rider, and he has included in his mods a roof-mounted bike rack, and that's what most people would pick on. They go, oh, fancy having a Maserati and putting a bicycle rack on the roof. That's not the problem. The problem is what he's done with the ground clearance. You look at this car, he's done it in a sort of purple colour that reminds me of the blackcurrant flavoured boiled sweets of my youth. Tom will know exactly what I mean. Lucy and Ben won't because they're 12. That's nice. It's very shiny. He's done a very nice job. But seriously, Matt, you, sir, are a knob. Because the ground clearance on this car, I mean, have a look at this. Can we zoom in, please, Lucy, on the picture? It's about 3 millimeters. It's just going to snap the instant he drives it. And what is the point of a car that you modify? You put that much love and effort into it, that's all appreciated, but you've designed it to be destroyed the instant you use it. It's absolutely hopeless. That's why it has a bike rack on. You set off in your Maserati, 3 yards later, you're taking the bike off the roof because the car is shagged. Let's move on. Ed Chyna, who is a lovely bloke. I know him a bit, I've met him many times. He's very clever, he's interested in things that matter, like engineering and making things and repairing things. He's a good bloke, he's got great hair as well, it's terrible, like mine. He has, I presume it's one of the original ones, the Outspan Mini, which is an old Mini with a new bodywork on the shape of an Outspan orange. And this was an advertising campaign in the 1970s when me and Tom were boys. And actually it was very exciting at the time. We all hoped we would see one of the Outspan Minis driving around. That's all they did. They just drove around being hilarious because it was a marketing campaign and everybody would go, did you see the Outspan Mini? Like a big orange driving down the road. It was funny, but that was 1976, 5? Sometime, a long time ago. And I'm afraid humour dates. And it might have been funny then, but it isn't funny now. It's like those seaside postcards you used to get when we were kids, and it had a picture of a woman's head in an ice cream van and the sweating head of another bloke and a speech bubble that said, now I can see why they call you Mr. Softy. And that was funny in the 70s, but it's just inappropriate now and not funny. And the Outspan orange car it's not funny. It's a big orange driving around, and it's a bit like Morris dancing. You sort of, I wish that would go away. Historically significant, I'm sure, in the history of marketing advertising. And it's like if there's a big civic occasion, like the Olympic parade is coming through, when we had the Olympics in London, and people walk around. You've observed this, Tom, on big stilts with big balloony trousers, sort of geeing everybody up to have a good time. What is it you call it? You call it
enforced jollity.
Enforced jollity. It's embarrassing. Your face would start to look like an Outspan orange after a while because you'd be, ugh. No, Ed, no. And underneath it's an original Mini and they're terrible anyway. Bloody kill you, especially if it's in the shape of an orange. I mean, imagine the insurance claim. I was driving my orange, it's just awful. Right, let's move on. Huvi's garage, yes. It's all about buying cheap exotics that have been crashed or written off in some way, or I don't know, high mileage. And he does them up. And he's done this with the Diablo VT Roadster. I'm ashamed to say I went on the launch of this car. It's a bit of a reputation as a widowmaker, the Diablo. It was a bit of a tricky car. And he's done it up. He's not admitting to how much he spent on it. It looks pretty good. I think it's actually It's quite a handsome car, the Diablo. It's very of its time. You know, it's a sort of testimony. It's totemic of that era and where the supercar had got to, which was it slightly lost its way, I think. And he's done I can't really fault it. Let's just have a closer look at him. Maybe I can fault him. Oh yes, he's had his hair cut by the council and he's pulling a funny expression as he looks at the bill. Know what I mean? Dale Masterman and his Jaguar S-Type R, that's the fast version. So there's probably somebody being executed in a medieval way out on the pavement. Dale Masterman has a Jaguar S-Type R, that was the fast version, and he has modified it. I've got a feeling, is he a drifter? No, maybe not. He says it's been slammed to be a show car. In fact, here is a picture of it at a show. It's been lowered, it's got decals, it's got some funky steel wheels, racing numbers. Again, it looks as if it's been done extremely well, and it is an improvement on the regular car, but it can't disguise the fact that the Jaguar S-Type had a face like a freshly slapped arse. It's a particularly disgusting looking bit of retro design, and Dale Masterman, well done, you've wasted your money. Oh yes. Now, Manny Kushbin, I hope I've said your name right, I've never heard anybody else say it, so I don't know. He's got a bit of cheese, this bloke, and he buys a lot of slightly obscure hypercars, supercars and what have you, and this is an SLR. And I remember when this came out, and yes, I've got a note here from Mike Fernie of Drive Tribe, and he says that I said of this car when we were talking about it on Hot Air, if a fly hit you at this car's top speed of 205 miles per hour, it would go through its own arse, which is an old joke. It's sort of interesting. I don't really have an opinion on it. I do have an opinion on the way this pseudo selfie's been done of Manny, because I bet you £1 million. Shut up! This was done on an iPhone, which has what do you call the lens, Tom, when it's not fisheye, but it's amorphic, yes. Anamorphic, thank you. And you see this phenomenon when you look in, not that I do, but you look in those OK Hello type magazines, pictures of celebrities getting out of a car at a big red carpet event like the Oscars or whatever. And it has the effect, if you stand above somebody, of giving you an enormous head and short spindly legs. And this is what has happened to Manny here, because somebody has taken a photograph from slightly high up on, I'm prepared to wager, an iPhone, or maybe an Android phone. They have a similar effect. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, and that Manny doesn't have some sort of condition which has given him an enormous head and short spindly legs, because that will be very embarrassing and I'll have to retract it. But assuming he is normally proportioned, the photograph has made him look a bit of a dick. Nice car. I wouldn't want one. Boga123. There are 122 other people called Boga somewhere on the internet. This man is a drifter. That's BAD already, and he has bought a BMW. Now we know he's a bit of a chump, because he's told us that it's an E36, and as soon as people know the model designations from the factory of their cars, that's a Werknummer, avoid. And he thinks these are very good drift cars. And you don't need an M3, this is better. This is a 325i. He's lowered it, he's added a rear wing. He's going to swap the straight six for a V8 pointlessly, I think. A straight six, the BMW straight six, extremely nice engine, very, very well balanced, quite musical. Basically, this is a man who owns an old BMW 3 Series, and that, I'm afraid, is not interesting. In the end, this is a man. Is it a man? I haven't actually checked that. I've come across Boga123 before. Lucy, is it a boy or a girl? Doesn't really matter, I suppose. Boga123 is a person who has bought an old BMW 3 Series. And that's the end. Thank God for that. I'm going to choose my favourite car out of these. So I think it's between Emilia's Corvette. The Diablo's tempting, except I wouldn't want to drive around in the Diablo because it's too much like hard work at my age. Not imagining that, I'll have that and then I'll sell it or any of that. It's going to be between, despite everything I've just said about it, Boga's BMW, because it's quite close to being standard and is just a perfectly acceptable car, and Emilia's supposedly 1,500 horsepower Corvette C8. And I think I'm going to go for the Corvette. Hell yeah. I must apologise and I must correct myself, because apart from tying myself in knots over the possible gender of Boga123, we've since checked and it is a boy, there's a bigger problem, which is that I was looking through the wrong bit of my new varifocal glasses and I've actually read his name incorrectly. It's not Boga123, which I thought sounded rather odd. It's a Q, not a G. It's Boca or Boca123. That now makes complete sense. So I'm sorry for any offence that may have caused. Not that sorry, but you know. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.